a Chinese man was videoed. The video went viral. Okay, a Kenyan, for apparently turning up to work late. Now, as it stands, the Kenyan authorities have gone to the hotel and picked up those perpetrators. So it transpired that they actually don't have the work permit. A lot of them, their visas have expired, and they're still in Kenya.
To me, it was modern day slavery. It's abusing an ethnic minority in their own country because they don't have the right legalities to work. I just thought it was bad.
Yeah.
It's not right in this day and age.
Yourself, Jennifer?
Yeah, no, I think, well, there's nobody that's going to tell you that that's appropriate behaviour from any employer to an employee, let alone when the employer doesn't have the right paperwork, when sort of the employer is not really in a position to reprimand anybody because he shouldn't really have the business. And yeah, I think sort of Nana's right. In their own country, to come and behave like that as a guest in somebody else's country, I think is quite despicable. Yeah.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Reading comments on social media, a lot of people were saying, oh, here we go again. How can we just sit there and let these people come over to our countries and treat us like this? But this is something, when I spoke to somebody in Ghana, it's almost as if Chinese people are doing the same thing in Ghana.
Everywhere.
And what do you think is down? Is it down to poverty, as some people are saying it? Because people tend to think, okay, if I don't take this, because at the end of the day, this is where I get my daily bread from.
I think it's that power struggle. I think that can happen anywhere, in any position, and it happens in the UK, it happens in, in America and Australia. I think it's that position where if you are in a position where somebody's providing you an income, a way for you to be able to feed your family that you didn't have before, you almost will put up with situations and behavior that you wouldn't otherwise if you weren't dependent on that money, or if you weren't dependent on that person. You feel a bit tied to them. So I think what's happening is, and you're right, we've seen this all across Africa, in the Caribbean as well. This has also happened in Jamaica, in terms of where there's been big influxes of Chinese migrants, Chinese companies coming in. And for the most part, on the surface, it looks like they're invested into the countries and African countries. They're invested into roads and infrastructure.
Yeah.
And so on the face of it, it seems great. Everybody seems happy. But then exactly what's happening now, when you delve a little bit deeper, what is the actual working conditions of these companies? I mean, some of the companies don't even employ local people. And then the ones that do, what is happening? And then you get cases such as this. I don't want to say that that's the majority of what's happening with these companies, but even one of these cases is too many. So I do think that sometimes, probably the Kenyan workers, they might feel a bit stuck. They're being provided employment. Yeah. You want to please your employer.
No,
he's giving you money.
The guy that was being abused lost his job as soon as he reported the case to the police. Yeah.
So it's a power struggle. I'm sure he knows that, and I'm sure this wouldn't have been the first incident that he's been abused at work by his employer. But exactly what happened, he reported it got found out, and now he's lost his earnings. So we don't know what's going to happen to the Chinese employer, whether or not he's going to be arrested, fined, reprimanded, deported.
They've been arrested.
Right. Okay.
And they probably will get deported. But now let me come to you. As I did mention, we've seen it in Ghana as well. Not just the Chinese. I remember one particular story where a Lebanese man actually poured pepper into the eyes of one of the employees. And again, is it time for Africans as a whole to look at themselves? Because it's almost as if we're a bit not sure in terms of the law, or people can come over and just take advantage and get away with it.
People, it's a tricky one, It's one of those situations where, do we know if the law works in Ghana or Africa as a whole? In saying that, some of the people that are employed, are they educated enough to know their rights? So we need to think employment rights need to be at the forefront
Yeah.
People need to know their rights as employees. And because of the destitute of people not having money,
Yeah. That's what it boils
Yeah.
down to.
poverty makes people do things.
Drives a lot.
It drives
Yeah,
a
it
lot.
does. Yeah.
So for me, I think we need to start from the grassroots, and it needs to start from the government, looking at how people are employed and putting an infrastructure in place with employment rights.
Yeah.
And that you get auditors to go into places.
But you see, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is maybe we need to look closer to home, because
Yeah.
it's no hidden secret. Okay, we all know that, and the Chinese people know, or foreign nationals, they all know.
They're
it because-
exploiting the need that we
because
have.
They know if you're in trouble, and then you just give somebody a brown envelope or something, they keep quiet, and then the problem just goes away.
But that's absolutely, and I think that's what the sad thing is that the fact that externally foreign powers and foreign companies know that that's the system that runs basically in a lot of these African countries where you push an envelope to a police officer, to an authority, a member of the authority, and they overlook your system. They overlook the fact that you don't have the right working conditions, that your employees are working in dangerous conditions. And I think they know that, or if they don't know that, once they come to these countries and they realize that's what the system is, of course, instead of who's going to be the one that's going to be, oh no, I'm going to spend more money and more effort to do the right thing when I know there's an easier path that I can take.
But for them also, it's reducing their overhead.
Exactly.
They're not spending a lot of money, and it's cheap labor.
Yeah.
I mean, bribery will always be cheaper than actually invested into the infrastructure to make the system better. And that will always be the reason why no one company will come in and say, this system isn't the right system, and I know I can bribe my way out of this, because exactly they want to cut their overhead. They want their profit margins to be up, and this is the quickest and easiest way. And in a world where competition drives everything, you want to be the company that is making the most money, that is selling the most product, and being the most efficient at what you do. So if you need to bribe somebody, an official, to look the other way, and
do that.
They do. It's not right whatsoever.
Okay.
But as people, we let them get away with it because we take those bribes.
But this is where the employees have to stand up to the employer.
Yes.
Because if no one stands up, it's going to continue. We're
Yeah.
going to come here 2 years' time and say the same thing.
Yes. No, I understand that. It will continue, but it needs to be supported by the government, because if you look at this on a larger scale, it's really great to be able to, in an ideal world, to say employees should stand up for their rights. Absolutely, they should. But on the smaller scale, if you are the only breadwinner of your family and you are the one that stands up, and then you get fired, and the next day they bring somebody else in, and there isn't a system, there isn't a union that's going to support you, that's going to fight your battle like you would if, say, you worked in the UK, you are the one that's losing out, but the system will still keep going, because in that sense, the system is bigger than you are.